Well, hello, everybody. This is Jason Height with Crossroads Tax Advisors, and I'm here today with Doug Fettig. And Doug is a man of many hats. Doug is a CPA. He's also the vice president of Health Professionals Alliance, which bands together independent dentists. He has also recently begun Dental Dollars and Cents, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But he's a keynote speaker, he's a dental strategist, and like I said, a man of many, many hats in the dental world. So, welcome, Doug. It's good to have you here today.
Thanks, Jason. It's great to be here. And first of all, those hats don't all fit perfectly, so I want you to know
I understand. I understand. So sometimes though it's a bad hair day and you just got to cover up, right? So anyway, let's get started here. How long have you been in the dental world, in the dental space, and how did you get involved in the dental world?
Well, my evolution into the dental world was kind of maybe unusual. I was actually working in a business development role for a regional CPA firm here in the Pacific Northwest, where I've been living for a while. I go between here and San Diego, and they had a dental niche. They worked with dental clients, and the partner was retiring, and they said, "Hey, Doug, would you be interested in taking over the dental niche because there's a lot of public speaking involved?" And I said, "Well, I've been to the dentist." So I'm being transparent. I went from that level of knowledge to being mentored by the outgoing partner and being fortunate enough to pick up some of his speaking opportunities. And in the last 8 years or so, I've probably been fortunate to explode my presence in the industry and just meet a ton of people like the good folks at Crossroads.
Yeah. All right. That sounds great. I know you and Chris, our owner, head CPA, go back, a long ways. So that's great. So let's get into dental dollars and cents. Dental dollars and cents. Obviously, the DDS, we love it. The little
Dude,
play on
you
those
get it?
initials there.
Yeah, you get it?
Yeah, I
You said
got it. I got it. It's great. So, what are you going to accomplish with dental dollars and cents?
Well, one of my passions, and I was fortunate to do a fair amount of public speaking in the dental space before COVID hit. And then COVID, of course, stopped everything, ground everything to a halt. There were a few webinars and stuff, and people quickly got tired of, I don't know, the Zoom CE and things. It just ran its course. And when COVID lifted, I thought it was the perfect opportunity for me to kind of rebrand myself as an individual in the dental speaking space, as a CPA who maybe comes at it from a different perspective. My whole goal in talking to dentists is really to change their mindset, to get them to think like a CEO, to take an abundant mindset versus a scarcity mindset, and to embrace technology to help them really improve their practice and their life. And so, and I'm a little maybe I'm a little different than the typical CPA. I open up with some Pink Floyd money walk up music, and I've got a money gun that I shoot, and I throw in some funny videos because um, if you're like me, we've all been to training where someone puts up a slide and there's 400 words on it and they start reading it, and people look at their watch and they go, I'm not going to survive till the first break, right? We've all been there. So
Yes,
my
absolutely.
my goal is to really get dentists to first of all try to keep them awake by entertaining them, but then try to get them to leave with a mindset shift that they're the CEO of their practice and they have to think like a CEO and no more of this kind of I'm just a dentist mentality. They have to think abundantly, and that's really my goal. And I love doing it. Love connecting with dentists.
Wonderful. You can tell just in the way you talk about it that you're passionate about it, and and to get to sit in front of you and listen would definitely be a treat. So I've watched some videos, things like that, seen you in action, but never in person. But I hope to sometime soon. I think I'm going to get the chance in October. So,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you mentioned talking and acting and being like a CEO, without giving us all the secrets. Give us just one. Give us one little small thing that somebody can do to act like a CEO.
So here's one of my mantras that I use in my talks is that you can't cost cut your way to prosperity. It's never been done. And I was doing a talk in Chicago one point. It was actually led into a game at Wrigley Field, which was a lot of fun. But we did the talk, and one of the dentists said, "Well, what about Walmart?" I said, "Great example. Walmart offers low prices, right?
Hmm?
But they also have invested $10 billion a year the last several years into IT so they can keep up with this company called Amazon. They're
Yes.
not cost cutting their way to prosperity. Here's a company that tried to cost cut their way to prosperity. Jason, you're younger than me, but do you remember a company called Sears?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
Sears used to be the largest retailer in
Yep.
the world. Okay,
Yep.
in the 70s, they were the largest. Everybody got their catalog. They're like, why should we care about the internet? We're Sears. Okay. Sears tried to cost cut their way to prosperity and they died on the vine. So my mantra to you as a dentist, if you can change your mindset and realize that, yeah, you want to be prudent about your expenses, but the growth and the joy comes in increasing the revenue and production side of your practice. That's where the real joy is. It's no different than your personal finances. Who can cut their personal expenses 50% in one fell swoop? It'd be really tough, right?
Yes,
Really
yes.
hard. What about on the other side if we increase our income? That's really where the explosion in wealth comes from on the personal side. And so you should take that same mentality into your dental practice.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, you have to spend to make, and sometimes it's spending on marketing, or sometimes it's
Oh,
spending on a good
yeah.
CPA.
Well,
There's a great
well,
idea.
well, think about it, Jason. I talk to dental school students sometimes too. I love getting in front of dental school students, but they're sitting out there, and of course they're deer in the headlights because they're four or five hundred
Yes.
thousand dollars in debt, right? But
Yep.
I'm like, okay, that is not an expense. That is an investment in your
Yes.
future,
Yes.
in your future earning power. And it's the same thing when someone decides to go out and spend $100,000 on a cone beam or digital technology. That is not an expense. That is an investment in growing your practice. And you have to have the mindset that I'm going to leverage that investment and maximize the ROI, the return on investment, just like I am doing with my dental degree. It's the same
Yes.
concept.
Yeah, love it. It's great, and I appreciate the connection that you just made there too. You made that real for any of our dentists that are happen to be watching this. So what else is on the horizon? What? So I'm guessing you're doing a lot of speaking right now. Anything else big on the horizon? Anything else you're going to do with dental dollars and cents coming up in the near future?
Well, I've got one thing I'm really excited about. There's an annual event called DS World, Dents by Serona World. They have it in Vegas every year, and this year it's in September. And I'm privileged to be asked. I'm speaking on the main stage there, doing kind of a TED talk style talk on an abundant mindset versus a scarcity mindset. So I'm excited about that. I also have my first international foray. I'm doing a webinar, a business related dental webinar in the United Kingdom that's going to be
Okay.
featured in the UK. So, and then I have another event that's going to feature some international dentists. So I was teasing my wife. I said, if I ever get on the international speaking circuit, for some reason, I think you'll be more likely to want to join me in Italy than you would in some domestic city in the US. But that's it. Go figure, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I understand. I understand. Well, that's great. All right. Uh, so in the dental world right now, what are the hot topics? What do people, you're in there, you're in your practice, you're paying attention to it. What are some of the hot topics in the dental world that that people need to be aware of? Maybe that you're kind of seeing trends that maybe that this is coming through the pipeline. Whatever it is. What do you think's going on in the dental world that we need to be concerned with? And that's going to change maybe the landscape of the dental community.
There's a few topics that if you ask almost any dentist in the country that are going to be the first things out of their mouth. Two of the pain points obviously are insurance, and if they're insurance users, they're being ground down on the cost. The other is staffing shortages, and there's ways to address both of those. Staffing certainly ties into someone's leadership perspective, and that's why part of my talk talks about how to become a dynamic leader. Because how can you expect to build a dynamic team if you're not a great leader?
Yes.
But the other two areas that come up are technology and the evolution of now you have artificial intelligence, you have 3D printing. I mean, digital has almost become standard of care at this point.
Yes. Yes.
But then you also have consolidation, and individual dentists know that DSOs are out there, they're expanding, and it's between you and me, it's for basic business reasons. If
Yes.
I own 50 dental offices, I can probably run them cheaper per office than you can run one office because I get economies of scale. It's
Yes.
basic business, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you have these dentists who want to remain independent or unsure, should I sell to a DSO? Should I stay independent? If I so, what's my best path? And so there's a real discussion point around that, around how do we as a profession address the growing presence of DSOs. And I'm not painting DSOs as good or bad. I'm just saying that's an option for dentists, and it's an option for dentists out of dental school. But private dentists are like, what do I do then if I want to stay independent? How do I thrive?
Yes.
And how do I gain economies, whether it's through some group purchasing plans or other ways to gain those efficiencies?
I love it. Love it. So next question, advice. let's get a little bit more advice here. What's the advice
Okay.
for that? And you just mentioned a couple minutes ago, you love getting in front of those dental students. And, maybe in that last year, what's your advice for them, or advice for the doc that's now just started a practice? Maybe they're an associate, maybe they've done a startup, maybe they, whatever it is, maybe they've purchased somebody else's. And what's your advice for that new dentist just starting out? What should they be doing?
So it's funny you asked that. When I talk to the dental school students, I'm like, I know you're, as my dog on the side here. Hi, buddy. Hi, Koa.
I love it.
I,
What kind of
I,
dog do you have?
he's like a rescue dog. He's like a half cattle dog. So he's like my gym membership. We go out
I
for a
love
long
it.
walk every morning. Uh,
I love
so
it.
when I talk to the dental school students, it's like two things, because I know they're overwhelmed. They see the student debt, they see their debt load increasing. As I'm talking to them, they know it's going up. I'm like, okay, two
Yes.
things, guys. The first is, when you get out of school, if you want to maximize your potential and your success, you have to surround yourself with industry experts. Okay, and that starts with their dental rep. The dental rep who's in 100 offices a month, who has their finger on the pulse. And then it flows into people like Crossroads, using someone to help you as your outsourced tax and CFO, wealth management, marketing, legal. I'll tell you a quick story. I was talking to a group of dentists down in Nashville. You ever been to Nashville?
Yes, absolutely. Several
Great city,
times.
great
Yes.
city, great city.
Yes.
At the break, one of the docs came up to me and he said, when I got out of dental school, my dad asked me to come join his practice. Not an uncommon story, right? And my
Hmm.
dad said, after a couple of years, I'll make you a partner, right?
Hmm.
12 years later, 12 years later, the son had to go to the dad and say, Dad, if you don't make me a partner, I have to walk, I have to leave.
Yep. Yep.
So he got strung along for 12 years and they had no agreements, nothing. He was like, why should we have any agreements? It's all in the family. I said, oh, no, no. If it's all in the family, all the more reason to have agreements, because if there's a disagreement or a gray area in any relationship in this world, it's going to involve money, or nobody else would care. Nobody would care. So don't hire your nephew's roommate who just passed the bar to be your legal representation when you go through the purchase of a practice, the biggest financial transaction of your life. Don't try to save $200 in the short term. Hire experts.
Yes.
If you as a dental provider surround yourself with experts, you have a far greater chance of success. And then you know what they say to me, Chris? Jason, excuse me, Chris is
Yeah,
your
no
great
worries. No
colleague.
worries.
They say, Jason, well, experts cost money. And I said, well, exactly. They have to eat, right? If your expert isn't adding more in value than they're costing you, then you're using the wrong expert.
There you go.
So the first big picture, surround yourself with dental industry experts. Number two, the minute you get that first paycheck, start saving some of that for retirement. The minute you get that first, I don't care how much debt you have. With apologies to Dave Ramsey, I don't care how much debt you have, because every if you get the worst financial advice of your life, which I think is, before you do anything else, pay off every penny of your debt. A dental school student has $500,000 in debt. They buy into a practice. Maybe their spouse talks them into buying a house. They could have $1.5 million in debt.
Yes.
If they wait to start investing for retirement until they have their debt paid off, they're going to be in their 40s, and they will not save the penny. And then, you know as well as I do,
Yes.
they've lost out on the power of compound returns.
Absolutely. Yeah. This
I,
is,
I
yeah.
tell them, yeah, I don't care how much debt you have. You've got to start saving something for retirement when you get that first paycheck. And if you do, when you get to be my age, you won't be where I am anymore. You'll own an island somewhere. You'll be putting up the umbrella for the next drink. You'll be set
Yep.
if you start saving when you're young.
Yep. It's,
So
it's
that's my other,
exactly right.
yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it because I have three children, 2018 and 16,
Bless you.
and when they made their first $1,000, my wife and I encouraged them to put $500 of that away, and not just in a savings account, but actually invest it. And they don't quite completely understand, but 10, 20, 40, 50 years down the road, they will completely understand how much that is compounded and what that will do for them.
Oh,
I mean, even $500 at 16 years old is huge. So, and do it definitely while you can, and it's definitely worth it. So,
well, that reminds me of the other piece of advice I'd love to give dentists, and not everybody realizes this. Let's say your child is 15 or 16 and they're working at Chipotle for the summer, right? Or whatever. You can set up a Roth for them, and they can put the money in the Roth. You can put it in, a grandparent, as long as that money's been earned legally by, and the IRS sees it as being legal, and anybody can put that money in a Roth. So you can start your kids in a retirement account while they're teenagers. And then that money's going to compound for 40 or 50 years before they ever take it out. They've already got a leg of their retirement built.
Yes. Big leg.
Phenomenal.
Big leg.
And for dentists, let's say you have your kid come in, they're a junior high school, they do some landscaping, they do some filing. You pay them a reasonable wage. You can't pay them
Yes.
100 grand for doing filing. You pay them a reasonable wage. And then if you want, you can take all of that, you can throw it into a Roth for them, or you can match what they put in if you want to teach them the power of saving. And they're off and running as teenagers. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is incredible. So one last question. We've talked about the new. What about the old? What about that dentist that's been going for
Oh.
20, 25 years? And maybe things are great. Maybe their collections are steady every year, and they're content. But maybe they're starting to think more about, hey, I can't wait till I get done. What's something you could tell them that might spark, whatever it is, that repassion, for dentistry, or just give them that new little zest and kind of swag in their step, so to speak, as they go through their days.
Well, to me, it all comes down to technology. I mean, technology is changing so fast, every facet of our lives, and also in the dental space. And on one generic level, new technology generally leads to better patient care. So you have that as your shining star, right?
Yes.
But for bringing in new technology, it can really re-energize a dentist who's maybe been practicing the same way for the last 5 or 10 years. And not only that, it re-energizes your team.
Yes.
So you bring in new technology, and of course, you have to have the attitude. If you have the attitude of I'm coasting into retirement, I don't want to learn anything new. Okay, that's fine. Then your practice is going to plateau and maybe even start to decline.
Yep.
But if you're willing to embrace technology and get your team excited, I think you're going to find a little more pep in your step when you come into work. And you've also increased the value of your practice when you're ready to sell. Because if you have some sharpshooter who comes out of dental school, do they want to buy a practice that's been in hibernation mode for 10 years? If they do, you're not going to get top dollar for it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I would say it's all about technology. Surround yourself with young, dynamic team members if you're fortunate enough to do so, because they help keep you young as well.
They do. They do. Yes. Keeping yourself, yeah, with your kids, they keep you young, and surrounding yourself with good people and people with a lot of energy is a lot of fun. So, well, and this has been an energetic conversation. I've loved, this opportunity to talk with you, spend the last, 20 minutes or so, just hearing about, dental dollars and cents, hearing about Doug Fettig, and the man, the myth, the legend. So, so I really appreciate your time. And what we'll do is we'll post this on our website. We'll send it, put it out there on LinkedIn, and we'll put your information on there too. So if people want to get in touch with you and hear a little bit more about what you're doing, or maybe find out where you're going to be next, and so they can hear you face to face, we'll give them that opportunity. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and all the best to you as you move forward.
Well, thanks, Chris, and thanks for what you guys do also to help dentistry become more successful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that too.
All right.